They've prevented people from being Russian. They've blocked Russian singers, even from, I believe, Metropolitan Opera here in New York City. I mean, they've been doing this, and it's completely insane. It's immoral. There's no basis for this. The people who happen to be Russian, who are spread all over the world, bear no individual responsibility by fact of their Russianness for what's going on here. And I just think it points, Clay, to the larger reality that we keep seeing now of there are people, and I believe that social media has played a very big part in this, because everybody who's involved in social media feels like they have a personal brand, and they get this little serotonin bump from the likes and the clicks and everything else. I mean, people that have nothing to do with actual media for their business are still obsessed with how they present themselves to the world. And whether it was people that were taking all the selfies in masks and how they take the virus so seriously and the photos of themselves getting shots, now it's, shot number 4, shot number 5, whatever. Now it's, your avatar is a Ukraine flag, and you'll do anything to defeat. You'll pay $50 a gallon to defeat Vladimir Putin. It's just, there's a war going on. We're not in the war. It's complicated. There are a lot of things happening. Putting the Ukraine flag up is, it means nothing, honestly, in the context of social media accounts. It doesn't do anything, but it makes people feel like they have a part in this fight. And unfortunately, I think that rush to be a part of the virtuous mob here results in some bad decisions. I mean, if you want to put a Ukraine flag up, that's fine. I mean, I'm just pointing out that it doesn't really do anything. But barring people from being able to run in the marathon or professionally harming people because they're Russian. I mean, it's one thing to say this is like Putin's best friend. Okay, fine. But someone happens to be Russian? And how far back do we take? If someone's Russian origin and they've lived in the United States for 10 years, are we to think that there's some kind of, there's a need to punish them? I mean, this is at a time when we're seeing what the state is willing to do to people in Shanghai for the collective good, this notion of punishing people for the collective good without any due process whatsoever should be something that gives everybody a lot of pause.
I don't think there's any doubt at all. And one question that I've been asking, and we've been discussing on this show, is, to your point, Buck, much of the default social justice support for Ukraine is predicated on requiring people to do as little as possible, right? You grab an image of the Ukrainian flag and put it up as your social media avatar. I don't know how much longer that lasts. There's going to be some new cause that rises up that I think pushes Ukraine, frankly, off of the front pages of the newspaper in the days and weeks and months ahead, particularly if we end up in this Eastern Ukraine Russian stalemate where you've got a lot of sort of there's not a narrative, right? When you're just kind of lined up and engaged in a long, protracted struggle, whether or not Kyiv was going to be taken, whether or not Zelensky was going to be safe, those are storylines people can follow. A bogged down trench warfare battle situation in eastern Ukraine is not. And to your point, it eventually leads all of this, hey, Ukraine is the good guys, Russia is the bad guys, to really poor decisions, whether it's not allowing somebody to sing as a part of the Metropolitan Opera because she happens to be Russian, or I believe it's 60, it's Russian and Belarusian, over 60 runners are not being allowed to compete in the Boston Marathon.
And it's also deeply, at some level, I think you could argue, deeply counterproductive, actually, to do this. What we want is for the Russian people to be furious with their leadership in Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
Sanctions are really just punishing the Russian population. It's not really punishing Vladimir Putin. He's a billionaire many times over. It's not punishing the oligarchs who are still in Russia, who are living the high life, irrespective of how many yachts are seized off the coast of England or in Dubai or wherever. Doesn't actually change anything. And I'm reminded of a very wise Polish friend of mine who once just quipped, "Nothing brings the Russians together like suffering." And I'm talking about the Russian people inside of that country now. If we're going to create a world where being Russian is something that must be punished, what you actually end up doing is creating a siege mentality within the Russian Federation for the population. They're saying, am I not welcome anywhere else in the world if I were to visit? Am I going to be treated like I'm some kind of a criminal? And given what we're doing, you could understand how that mentality, we're making them poor. By the way, the ruble has apparently bounced back substantially. So our whole economic warfare plan so far has been unsuccessful. And I think it was greatly overstated from the beginning about how, think of all the speeches that Biden gave, Clay, about the punishing all these sanctions and more sanctions. And when have sanctions ever worked?